raising my hand, but they won't answer my question. Okay, so how many of you have been on a Zoom call or been in a conference or a talk where there was a Q&A designed for you to learn? Yes, we all have. Well, recently I spent some time consulting a group of folks who have built a fascinating network. And I'm a huge fan of these guys, by the way. They're designing sessions for their network to engage around a topic. And I want to share the principles that I shared with them because they can work for you whether you're in an in-person or virtual setting. You see, this gathering simply wants to come together to interact and learn, which sounds like most of us, right? However, the way we instinctively think to put together learning experiences often does the opposite of what we want. And it's not really your fault, because we just haven't had great examples. So, how do you engage your group? It's easy. But before we go there, let me ask you a question. Even if you had the world's foremost expert, how much of what he or she says are you going to remember? Probably not much. You might have even had a memorable experience going to see an expert before, but I doubt you can recall much of what they actually talked about. In order to learn, or put another way, for neuroplasticity to occur, you need a couple of things. Most notably, you need to be highly focused. And for this video, there's something else that I want to point out. Specifically, errors. That's right, making mistakes increases your learning. So how can we use these two things? Well, does your focus increase or decrease when you passively listen to others ask questions to an expert? And are you able to make errors that you can learn from when you're passively listening? Or does thinking critically and trying and discussing concepts with a small group of your peers who may even check you on your thoughts increase this mistake-driven learning? I'm sure you can guess where I'm going with this. So your next question is likely, okay, Jack, what do I do? Well, since you're not going to fully learn an incredibly difficult topic in a 1-hour call, of course you're going to have to go do some training for something like that. What you should be aiming for as a facilitator is maximum interaction. More experience, less cramming. If your participant becomes intrigued and leaves with sources of insight, maybe even a few places to look further, and even a few people to connect with, well, then from a physiological perspective, to them, the call will feel like it was a good use of energy. They're gonna feel like they budgeted their energy well, that they predicted the use of that energy well, that it paid off, and they're gonna likely want to do a call or a meeting with you again. But if the participant was learning what others wondered from a Q&A, so they're not engaging, and then they're likely losing focus, they're not getting a chance to test assumptions, or make errors checked by their peers, or grab precious repetitions helpful for learning, then they're gonna question the expending of energy to participate on future calls. I'm gonna give you some examples. I've been fortunate to be a part of a group called the Coburn Ventures Community for Change, and they do something that I really like called fire starting. You might actually have an expert on your call or at your conference, so let he or she fire start the conversation with a couple of thoughts around a prompt or maybe even a specific topic. And then break your group into smaller groups to discuss. In a networking group or association, not every topic for every call is going to please everyone. Topics will always be irrelevant to some of the participants without them thinking critically. It's not about them learning every point, it's about them developing an understanding of a topic and contributing to the group because of their unique perspective. Here's the important part. When you reframe a discussion away from passive Q&A to getting a group to think critically about a topic and contribute to the group as peers and industry leaders, the time together reframes to contribution rather than receiving, and what participants take away is greater that way. The participation accomplishes the focus and engagement that you're seeking, and the participants will have a neurochemical profile that's more in line for learning that way as well. And as a bonus, creativity and solving problems are about making novel connections between things that don't seem to go together. So every time you participate, even when topics may seem interesting but not necessarily particularly relevant at the time, you strengthen your ability to create and solve problems. You can always come back to the expert with a question or two from the group after critical thinking. This can be to test theories, to get feedback, maybe even clarify something that you want to go deeper on. But to get there, you need to have tried on your own. And by taking this approach, you avoid a session divulging into something that is simply about whether or not you agree or disagree with the expert. Avoiding this is helpful because how much do we learn proving others wrong? Nothing. So, how do you engage your group? I said it was easy, right? Make it so they get to think and create for themselves. And now that you know this, go win the day, y'all. Sincerely, your #1 sidekick.